First, I would like to welcome a very talented spoken word artist who is going to give us a peace of mind before we get started. I would like to bring up Keville Kouraj from Pawtucket for joining us. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Master Keville Kouraj. I'm a certified 5th degree black belt instructor at Rhode Island Taekwondo, a non-profit martial arts school in downtown Pawtucket. For the past 20 years, I have used Taekwondo as a method to help needy children growing up in Central Falls, Pawtucket, and Providence have a better outcome. I am also a former elementary school teacher, as well as a poet. Thank you to the George Wiley Center for inviting me to speak. It is an honor to be here. I appreciate the time that you are all taking as we discuss this important topic. Today I will be reciting a short poem, and I'll be happy to take questions afterwards. Heat, hot water, and lights are basic human rights. Families in Rhode Island are suffering from the bitter cold. And no, I'm not referring to the winter weather. Their suffering is due to the frozen hearts of politicians and CEOs who corruptly abuse their power. Their misleading lips pledge deceptive promises, while their indecisive hands fail to follow through altogether. When will politicians use their position for the sake of humanity? When will the cost of living in this state get better? Rhode Island has the 5th highest utility rates in the nation. Families are forced to choose between groceries and heat. It's outrageous that poor people must shiver all night in order to make sure their kids have enough food to eat. The system we have now is crushing low-income families. Standard electric bills just benefit the wealthy and the elite. We demand fairness and compassion, justice and equality, so that all Rhode Islanders can financially stand on their feet. Each morning at school, children rise up tall. They put their hand on their heart and face the flag on the wall. They pledge their allegiance to the United States, a nation whose founding fathers promised liberty and justice for all. Yet the economic disparity between the rich and the poor would leave anyone with a conscience feeling appalled. My voice will not stay silent until we rise up together and force the amoral American capitalist system to fall. Every year, over 20,000 Rhode Island families have the utilities shut off because they are simply not able to pay. Roughly 44% of their pitifully low salaries for utilities alone. Who could possibly break out of poverty that way? This includes stressed out single mothers who work 2 full-time jobs and barely even see their kids all day. They work their fingers to the bone as the bills pile up high. Getting ahead is impossible, they realize with dismay. But there is a shining path forward. It's called the Percentage of Income Payment Plan. It is already a success in 12 other states. Impoverished households would pay just 3% of their income. Utility costs would depend on how much money they make. The electric company would be forced to treat people fairly. Rather than the CEO getting rich off disproportionate rates, those struggling financially would get much needed relief, especially minorities, and the benefits for all income levels are great. Misinformed middle-class Americans mistakenly believe that PIP will force them to pay more than their fair share. They fail to realize that when low-income families lose their heat, there are hidden costs that everyone must bear. Children go hungry, they get evicted, their asthma flares up in the cold, and no light at night leaves them feeling scared. Now we'll calculate the extra Medicaid cost of long-term malnutrition, homelessness, nebulizers at Hasbro, and mental health care. If U.S. tax dollars are used to pay for Medicaid, then rich people should support passing PIP without hesitation. Common sense tells us that lifting the poor out of poverty will improve all child outcomes in health and education. Families will have the opportunity to save money for college and to pass on their wealth to the next generation. And once you realize that heat and light are basic human rights, not privileges, then PIP becomes our moral obligation. proudly welcoming immigrants in the New York harbor. Everyone knows the importance of the Statue of Liberty. The plaque boldly proclaims, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." Yet the mighty flame of her torch is not equally lit for all people. Politicians simply refuse to take responsibility. What pitiful excuse can they offer? Where are Amo and White House, Reed and Magaziner, and especially Governor McKee? Considering the bleak outlook for destitute Rhode Islanders, the moral compasses of our politicians are spinning circles in vain. To think that some of them have held their high position for decades without fixing poverty and discrimination, this is insane. We are tired of the delays, the corruption, cronyism, and bribes, the procrastination that has caused poor people so much pain. To cut off the electricity of Rhode Island's innocent children, hardworking minorities, and immigrant fathers is simply inhumane. Another issue is that there are Americans who struggle with a grave illness, a disability, or a severe health condition. Any one of us can become paralyzed from a serious car accident or be given a cancer diagnosis by our family physician. These medical crises often arise when least expected, blindsiding a family's breadwinner who once had high ambitions. But Rhode Island Energy has the nerve to disconnect the utilities of medically vulnerable people. They get 21 days until termination. That's why we demand that this serious illness protection plan is finally passed in Rhode Island this year. Imagine an elderly grandmother who relies on an oxygen machine, inhaling each breath with trembling fear, or a premature baby sent home early from the NICU with a heart monitor because the risk of SIDS is severe. Losing their electricity is dangerously life-threatening. To all your politicians here, the right choice is obviously clear. For over 10 years, the George Wiley Center has tried their best to encourage local politicians to pass PIP and SIP 2. But clearly, Rhode Island lawmakers are not representing our voices. They could care less about the basic needs of me and you. They would rather take our tax dollars and send them overseas to kill innocent Palestinians and help the war criminal Netanyahu commit a live stream genocide using our hard-earned money. If that $12 billion were still here, imagine what we could do. We deserve a society where the American dream is a reality for every Rhode Islander who is willing to work hard. They could afford a vacation, drive a dependable car, move to a better school system, or buy a house with a yard. They could finally focus on faith, family, and education without worrying if the electric bill will make their children starve. We insist politicians pass these two important House bills. This year, it is critical that these two they do not disregard. To all you fancy politicians in your well-pressed suits and ties, all you've done so far is smile and nod up there. If your neck cramps up, you can afford to pay out of pocket for a personal chiropractor, and that's not fair, because we dream of an America where freedom and human rights are two ideals that all people can equally share. In the words of the great Dr. Martin Luther King, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Some of you may be familiar with another famous quote, "When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes our duty." Now is the time to raise our loud voices high to the sky and force greedy politicians and CEOs to end their cruelty. It doesn't matter rich or poor, Christian, Muslim, or Jewish, undocumented or not, or belonging to a racial minority. We insist on fairness, compassion, justice, and equality for all people. That is the correct definition of democracy.